You're welcome back. President John Mahama has signed the 24-hour Economy Authority Bill into law, creating the legal and regulatory foundation needed to formally roll out the government's 24-hour economy and accelerated export development program. The newly established authority will be responsible for implementing the 24-hour economy initiative. In his remarks after signing the bill, President Mahama said although it has taken some time, the government needed to move patiently through the process in order to give it legal effect.
Cabinet colleagues have just appended my signature to give assent to the 24-hour authority bill. This is a bill Ghanaians have been waiting for. It was one of our flagship strategies for economic transformation. It's taking a while, but we needed to go patiently through the process to give legal effect to it. And so from now, we must move from strategy to implementation. The business sector is waiting, Ghanaian investors are waiting, foreign investors are waiting. They want to see the package of incentives that we afford them so that they can invest more and expand productivity and also create more employment for our young people. And so it's my pleasure to assent to this bill today. Thank you. And let me congratulate the team that has been working on it. Our comrade Guzitando and his team. We're very grateful. Thank you very much.
Let's get talking and go on to Zoom right now and speak to Abdul Nasser Soglu Alidu. He is the Chief Program Officer of the 24-hour economy. Welcome to the program. What does the new law mean for the authority? Hello, Abdul Nasser, can you hear me? I'd want you to unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
I am unmuted.
Yes. I was asking what the new law means for your authority.
I guess, like the president said, this gives legal effect to the 24-hour economy program. Before this law, we're a secretariat. And as a secretariat, you wouldn't be able to sign agreements, get into agreement with partners and all of that. So, the most important thing for us is that now we can enter into legal agreements. We can actually do a lot of things on our own as an authority. The other thing is it gives permanence to the 24-hour economy program because you have an authority right now that, has been charged, that's backed by law and been charged to implement this this program. So it gives permanence to the program. It gives legal form to the authority or to the program so that we can enter into agreements. And I guess beyond everything it signals that we are ready to hit the ground running.
And Abdul Nasser,
so that's what it really means.
Right. What preparatory works were done before the signing of this new bill?
Well, I think since President Mahama came into power and the 24-hour economic secretariat got put in place, we've done quite a bit. The first part of what we had to do was the engagement process. There are a lot of stakeholders that we needed to speak to in the process of trying to understand what really had to be done if we want to have a 24-hour economy program or if we want to establish a 24-hour economy in Ghana. So some of the preparatory work has involved, meeting with industry, meeting with people, which then culminated in the program that was launched in July last year. Beyond that, we've also been doing a lot of work around ensuring that we're able to take away the constraints that businesses face in growing. So for instance, we've worked on an incentive program that has been submitted to the Ministry of Finance. Energy has always been a big issue for industry. We have been working to identify an investor that would come in and help us to significantly bring down energy costs for participants within the 24-hour economy program. That also, we've identified someone that we're working with towards that. We've been working on identifying land that could be used for agriculture and industrial purposes. So far, we've identified more than 400,000 hectares of land. We've been structuring specific catalytic programs,
right,
in projects. So you have quite a number of them. You have a farmer park in Akuse that is that we are putting in place. You have a machinery park in Kumasi. You have the Volta Lake transport system that we are reviving. So there's been quite a lot of work that's going on. They are not just preparatory work. A lot of them is actually execution that's underway. Except that most of the execution is being done quietly in the background, and Ghanaians will begin to see the effects very soon.
You have called for private partnerships. So far, you've mentioned that some have started coming in. Can you quantify the number of private entities that have jumped on board, and in fact, the preparations towards making this a realization?
All right. So in terms of quantifying the interaction, so we've had a formal process of people of engaging people, and so far we have about 412 people, 412 Ghanaian businesses. So these are local businesses that we have engaged with, and that have either submitted a proposal or expressed interest in doing one thing or the other, either joining a pack, taking advantage of some of the funding opportunities that we are providing and all of that. So in terms of quantifying, that's what I'll say. But beyond that, we've engaged investors beyond the shores of Ghana. So we are engaging with investors on ensuring that we are able to enable the Volta Lake transport, for instance. So we're engaging investors from different countries. We've engaged investors from Denmark. We've engaged investors from China, Korea, the Netherlands. So it's quite a large array of engagements that we've had today.
And how much are investors willing to commit to the 24-hour economy policy?
Well, I mean, so with the right, the way we've structured the 24-hour economy program is that the program is going to be executed mostly off the government balance sheet. So you're getting private investors to come in and undertake projects, some of which ordinarily governments would have had to do. And so you need to structure it in a way that makes sense for these private investors. Now, what we are doing is providing what we call the viability gap funding. And the viability gap funding, the incentives are one way of structuring the viability gap funding. There are also different ways of structuring the viability gap funding. But once you have that viability gap funding, there is no limit to how much you can actually get people to come. You are only limited by the size of the opportunities.
Right. This was one of the flagship programs of the NDC during the 2024 elections. What the layman understood was that one job, 3 shifts, 3 persons. It appears that the format has changed a bit, hasn't it?
No, the format hasn't changed. I mean, it's still, being able to run a shift system. Now, what you realize is that to run it's businesses, it's mostly private businesses that employ people. Now, for private businesses, for factories and all of that to employ the people, they need to have they need to be able to utilize the capacity that they have. Today, capacity utilization in industry is around 40% in Ghana. That means we need to figure out ways to ensure that we are improving that capacity. We need to ensure that the feedstock that they need to produce, they have it. We need to ensure that they have the electricity at the good prices. We need to ensure that we are giving them those incentives that make them able to produce and utilize the full capacity. And that's what I'm saying. We've been working, behind the scenes to ensure that we overcome those constraints. We get them power at good prices. We get them the incentives. And most importantly, to increase capacity utilization in factories, in businesses, so that the businesses will be able to employ more. So the formula hasn't changed.
Okay. I didn't get a definite answer when I asked you about how much investors are willing to commit to the 24-hour economy program. Do I get the sense that the authority does not have a definite amount of money they need to execute this project?
No, your question was how much are people willing to? And what I told you is that how much people are willing to, you don't have a cap on how much people are willing to.
Okay.
As long as you provide them the framework within which to come. But for every single project that we have, that single project is costed. So we have a catalog of projects, and you can go through the projects, and each project is costed,
Right.
for people to invest in. I mean, today, if you ask me, the total investment for all the projects that we've looked at right now will be about 10 billion USD. And this is not coming from government. This is actually coming from private sector, to invest in these projects.
Right. And how much is coming from government?
So that's why I said government's role is really about providing the viability gap funding to unlock these. The viability gap funding is number one in the incentive scheme. So government will roll out the 24-hour economic incentive scheme that provides an impetus for private sector to come in. Government will support in bringing in some, catalytic funding. So we are looking at climate funding, for instance. We're trying to get about $250 million in climate funding to come in and direct some of these projects. And government will also then resource the 24-hour economy secretariat. This year's budget, government is giving us about 110 million cedis. But that's really for administrative purpose and to allow us to be able to unlock a lot of this money. And just to think about it, right? I mean, the 110 million cedis is about $10 million. One project alone could be as much as $200 million. And government is constrained. Government can't do all of this, and that's why you need a private sector to support government to bring that transformation to Ghana.
I asked you that question because earlier we had reports that government was going to provide some seed money.
Well, we've been trying to work with the Ministry of Finance to figure out how we can provide some seed funding for GIF, the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund.
Okay.
Because GIF is the infrastructure partner. Now, you also realize that on government budget, there are a number of projects, infrastructure projects, especially under the big push, that government is advancing. Now, all of these would also be, well, not all of this, some of these will be leveraged to direct some of these projects. And those will constitute some of the investment that government needs to make into this to direct the project so that private sector can come in.
Let's look at its effectiveness and its utilization. Is it going to be across every region in Ghana, or are there some select regions that you are going to pilot to see if it works, then you spread it across the rest of the regions? How is it going to be like?
So transformation doesn't just happen in one place. When you're doing an economic transformation program, you're transforming the whole country, you're transforming the whole economy. And so when you take a look at the projects that we are designing, there are projects that are designed for almost for every region, you have some projects. But the key platform that we are leveraging is what we call the Volta Economic Corridor. And the Volta Economic Corridor, basically, it's about enabling trade and business within the Volta Basin. The Volta Basin, it stretches from Tema all the way to Tamale and around it. So from Tema to Akosombo to Bupe, Yape, to Tamale, and you see all the projects around it. Now, the reason why this is like a flagship platform within the 24-hour economy is because the Volta Lake itself, which is the biggest man-made lake in the world, is a latent resource that we haven't really utilized much. And if we use it, we are able to then significantly transform agriculture through irrigated agriculture, transform industry with the industrial parks that utilize the water and all of that. And importantly, also transform transportation by using the lake for transportation, that significantly reduce the cost of transport and all of that. So it's a national program, but there's a flagship platform, which is the Volta Economic Corridor.
There are also concerns that our country is already an agrarian economy. And speaking to you, you've touched mainly on agriculture, how to boost our agricultural production. There are people who are asking, what about AI? What about manufacturing. Are there anything in it for them?
I mean, actually, that premise is also not accurate because our economy is really not an agrarian one. If you look at it, our economy is dominated by services. And that's the way our transition to services is actually one of the problems that our economy faces. And that's one of the transformation we want to. Because you're seeing movement out of agric, but instead of going into high value jobs, most of these are ending up in low value services jobs. It's part of the problem of unemployment. It's why, for instance, when you look at our employment rate, almost 70% of people employed in Ghana are in what the Ghana Statistical Service calls vulnerable employment. That cannot, continue. So what we are doing is to figure out how we modernize this economy, industrialize it so that the movements from agriculture and even, from services can start going into high value productive jobs, productive sectors to improve, earnings, ensure that you are, improving the living standards of Ghanaians and, advancing prosperity across the whole country. So that's really what it is that we are looking at.
Although it was signed into law as an authority just recently, but the 24-hour economy secretariat has been there for a while. How has implementation been so far? I know that you've started implementation. Let's start with the government sector. Have you started from there, and how has it been so far?
Okay, so I guess let's take a step back, right? I know what you are asking right now. The specific question you are asking is how many companies are doing 133, right? But when you think about the implementation, what you should realize is that the implementation of 24-hour economy is not seen just in people doing 133. It's seen in the increase in productive capacity across the country. That's really what we need to, because the objective here is to create jobs. And, so increase productive capacity so that you can ensure that the economy is growing and the growth is translating into jobs and prosperity for people. And in that sense, the implementation has already started. In that sense, for instance, like I told you, we are at this stage working on a project to improve or to provide energy to companies within the 24-hour economy program at less than 7 cents per kilowatt hour. That is part of the implementation. Okay, so in that sense, implementation has started all over. But if you're asking about 133, there are a number of businesses that are doing 133. There are a number of, public corporations that are doing it. I mean, just today, I just came back from a meeting with NPA, where we are working to ensure that in the downstream petroleum sector, we're able to implement the shift system, because that's one of the sectors that we believe is ready to be able to do the shift system and do. So that there's been a lot of work that's going on there. And, people are announcing, what we are waiting for is to get the incentive schemes passed, and then you can roll that out even, on a larger scale.
One of the many benefits we were told about the 24-hour economy was the creation of jobs. 1 year down the line, can you tell us the number of jobs the 24-hour economy has been able to create for Ghana?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number now. That I will not be able to tell you now. But hopefully, and we are actually working closely with the Ghana Statistical Service to put together a monitoring and evaluation system that is transparent and that everybody will be able to take a look at. So hopefully in the coming months, we'll be able to outdoor this, and everybody will have a lot more visibility into how many jobs are being created.
So in the medium to long term, what should we expect from the 24-hour economy authority, now that you're an authority, in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, in terms of implementation? What are the plans ahead?
Well, you should expect that we will tackle a lot of the constraints that is making it difficult for businesses to operate. So you should expect a reduction in power rates. You should expect a lot of the projects that we have planned coming on stream. You should expect a lot of the funding that we've been trying to get into for SME on lending, for businesses to come through. I mean, right now, actually, we are working with an international development bank that has approved about 290 million actually, they've approved 290 million for Ghana. And 3 banks in Ghana have taken up 210 to put in an SME on lending facility. So you should expect a lot of these things being announced and coming on stream.
So how is success going to be measured like? How is success like with this 24-hour economy?
Ultimately, by the number of jobs that are created and the quality of those jobs. Ultimately, that's how success will be measured.
And as we speak right now, the authority is not able to tell us the number of jobs it has been able to create through the 24-hour economy.
Well, I mean, the authority wouldn't be creating the jobs. The economy will be creating the jobs. So, I mean, if in terms of how many jobs have been, if you actually take a look at the latest report from Ghana Statistical Service, unemployment has actually fallen to 12.05%. So if you're looking at it, it's about the productive capacity of the economy. It's not the authority that will create the job. It is what the authority enables, which is the economy that's going to create the jobs.
That has already been explained to us. You mentioned the Volta Corridor project that you say is currently ongoing. Aside from that, which other project is currently ongoing?
Say that again. Can you please ask that question again?
When I asked you if implementation has already begun, you cited the Volta Corridor project that you say is currently ongoing. And I'm asking, beyond that project that you mentioned to us, can you tell us other projects that are currently ongoing that have been enabled through the Secretariat?
So let me talk. Let me give you a few. So one, we have the Akuse Pharmaceutical Innovation Park. We call it the Legon Pharmaceutical Innovation Park because we're developing together with University of Ghana. And that is meant to ensure that we're able to produce the APIs and also the essential medicine that we require in this country. There is the Kumasi Machinery and Technology Park, which we're working on that with KNUST, and that is focused on producing the farm implements, the basic implements that we require in our farm. So that's being done in KNUST. We've acquired the land around KNUST, and there are a few partners that we're working on to that. There's a Tamale Air Cargo Hub. And the Tamale Air Cargo Hub, if you take a look at Tamale, the Tamale Airport is has the longest runway in Ghana. And if you're coming from North Africa, if you're coming from Europe, it's the closest, airport. And you also have a lot of agricultural activity going around there. So we are, converting that area into a horticultural zone where you're producing vegetables and also producing coronation flowers. Because we've done studies on the soils around, Kintampo going up, and those soils are very similar to the soils in Kenya where they farm a lot of their flowers. So that the Tamale Air Cargo Hub then becomes the hub through which you can export a lot of these. There's the inland water transport, which basically is 2 projects. One is the transportation itself on the lake, and the other is the ports that we are working on to actually bring to stream. There is the North Shore Industrial Park, which is a light industrial park that will focus on garments and also on agro-processing. There's a Volobato Agro-Industrial Park, which focuses on sugarcane, rice, and maize. And today, the sugarcane plant is actually up. So the sugarcane plant has actually been completed. There's a starch plant that will be coming in, and then we are inviting a few more other people to come in. So there are a number of them. There are about 15 projects right now that are ongoing.
The NPP, the opposition New Patriotic Party, has already said that this 24-hour economy project is already dead on arrival. There are fears that it could become a white elephant, just like other projects and initiatives that, successive governments have tried implementing. Should there be such fears?
Fortunately for us, we had what they did to learn from. So we took a lot of lessons from what has happened in the past. And in doing that, we've designed this program to be sustainable and to also avoid some of the pitfalls. And importantly, we've designed this around the private sector. The part of the reason why we designed it around private sector is to ensure that, or to overcome the problem of governments being constrained by government finances. Now, the other part also is that the private sector invests in places where they have more of a long-term view and where they see value. So almost all the projects that I mentioned to you are projects that we designed together with private anchor investors. And private anchor investors are not going to put their money into projects that are going to become, white elephants. So we believe that we've learned, quite some good lessons from the mistakes that were made in the past, and we've designed a program that would be successful and that would, be sustainable in the long term, and transform the economy of Ghana, most importantly.
Right. We know that this is under the presidency, and I want to find out from you, has the authority started running a 24-hour economy policy?
I don't understand that question.
Are you running 24 hours? Do you work 24 hours?
Unfortunately, no, we don't work 24 hours.
Why? They say charity begins at home.
Yes, but you see, and that's why I told you that the issue is really about improving productive capacity,
right,
so that you can employ more people and give more people jobs and a better life.
Right.
That's really what the fundamental issue is.
Right. Abdul Nasser Alidu, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. He's the Chief Programs Officer at the 24-Hour Economy Authority.